Recording in progress.
Beautiful. Welcome, everyone. Good evening. This is a meeting of the City Council, calling this meeting to order. My name is Lance Davis, presiding this evening in the stead of President Pineda Neufeld, who is traveling. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, this meeting of the City Council is being conducted via remote participation. It is being recorded, and we will post an audio recording, audio-video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of these proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting on the City of Somerville website and local cable access government channels.
Do you want me to call the roll?
Why don't you call the roll, please?
Great. This is roll call. Councillor Mba.
Present.
Councillor Wilson.
Present.
Councillor Ewan-Campen.
Here.
Councillor Scott. Councillor McLaughlin. Councillor Burnley. Councillor Said.
Here.
Councillor Strezzo.
Here.
Councillor Klingon.
Present.
Councillor Davis.
Here.
Councillor Pineda Neufeld. With 7 councillors present and 4 absent, we have a quorum.
I could note that Councillor McLaughlin has joined us. Pursuant to our Rule 31, let it be known that this City Council salutes the flag of the United States of America, and let us recall our oath to uphold the Constitution and the laws of the Commonwealth to the best of our abilities and understanding. Madam Clerk? Remembrances, yes. Any moments of silence this evening? All right, seeing none, if we would all rise as you are able for a moment of silence. Thank you. You may be seated. Madam Clerk.
And the next item, Mr. President, is item 1.3, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of April 10th, 2025.
Seeing no discussion, that item is approved. We're going to take a few items out of order after the public hearings. We have no citations this evening, Madam Clerk. Is that correct? Thank you. And actually, yes, we have enough folks here to move forward. So we're going to take item 4.4 out of order, and then 10.3, and then 6D, which is the report on the Committee on Legislative Matters. So we'll start with public hearings. Madam Clerk, would you read the next item?
The next item is item 3.1, a grant of location from Eversource to install approximately 46 feet of conduit in Cross Street East from utility pole 588/2 to an existing manhole 20716.
I declare this public hearing to be open. Is there anyone here to speak on the matter? Jackie Duffy.
Hi, good evening. How are you tonight?
Oh, thank you.
Good. We would like to propose to install 46 feet of conduit in Cross Street East. This work is necessary to provide system improvement upgrades in the area.
Is there anyone else present or online to speak on this matter? All right, seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Any discussion on the item? All right, seeing none, that item is approved.
Thank you.
Item 3.2 is a grant of location from Eversource to install approximately 49 feet of conduit in Prospect Street from existing manhole 23058 to a point of pickup at 110 Prospect Street.
I declare this public hearing to be open. Is there anyone to speak on the item?
Jackie Duffy, Eversource, would like to install 49 feet of conduit in Prospect Street to provide electric service to 110 Prospect Street.
Is there anyone else to speak on this item? Seeing no one else, I declare the public hearing to be closed. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, that item is approved. Thank you, Ms. Duffy.
Thank you. Have a nice night.
You too.
And that will bring us to the first item being taken out of order, which is item 4.4, a resolution by Councillor Klingon recognizing May as Hyperemesis Gravidarum Awareness Month and May 15th as Hyperemesis Gravidarum Awareness Day.
Councillor Klingon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Madam Clerk, would you be willing to read this into the record, please?
Whereas hyperemesis gravidarum is a potentially life-threatening pregnancy complication characterized by severe nausea, vomiting, weight loss, and dehydration. And whereas hyperemesis gravidarum affects approximately 1 to 3% of pregnancies and can result in serious health complications for both the birthing parent and the fetus if left untreated. And whereas hyperemesis gravidarum is often misunderstood and misdiagnosed as typical morning sickness, leaving those who suffer from it to endure significant physical, emotional, and financial stress, frequently without adequate support from medical and social systems. And whereas recent studies have shown an average annual increase of 6.8% in hyperemesis gravidarum prevalence, with emergency department visits rising by 28% from 2006 to 2014, and associated healthcare costs increasing by 110% during the same period. And whereas the psychological impact of hyperemesis gravidarum can be profound, often leading to depression, anxiety, and in severe cases, consideration of pregnancy termination due to the debilitating nature of the condition. And whereas increased public awareness and research funding are critical to improving the diagnosis, treatment, and outcomes for those affected by hyperemesis gravidarum. And whereas organizations such as the HER Foundation, Hyperemesis Education and Research, work tirelessly to educate the public, support families, and advocate for individuals impacted by hyperemesis gravidarum. And whereas the month of May is recognized as Hyperemesis Gravidarum Awareness Month, with May 15th observed internationally as Hyperemesis Gravidarum Awareness Day, both dedicated to raising awareness, honoring those affected, and promoting better care and understanding of this debilitating condition. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Somerville City Council hereby recognizes the month of May as Hyperemesis Gravidarum Awareness Month, and May 15th, 2025 as Hyperemesis Gravidarum Awareness Day in the City of Somerville. And be it further resolved that the City Council encourages residents, healthcare professionals, and community leaders to educate themselves about hyperemesis gravidarum, support individuals and families experiencing it, and advocate for continued research and compassionate care. And be it further resolved that the City Council supports legislative efforts such as Massachusetts House Bill H2452, an act improving maternal and child health related to hyperemesis gravidarum, which seeks to improve awareness, diagnosis, treatment, and support for those affected by this condition through enhanced research, provider education, and public health initiatives. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be transmitted to the HER Foundation and other relevant organizations to affirm the City of Somerville's support for increased awareness, education, and resources for hyperemesis gravidarum.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Colleagues, this is something that I wanted to raise awareness for. I don't know if many of you have heard me talk about my wife's pregnancy, but she suffered a serious, a very debilitating case of hyperemesis. And so, 1 to 3% of pregnancies translates to millions of women around the globe, many of which are in areas that don't have the necessary, tools in the toolkit that really just alleviate things just a teeny bit. They don't quite solve the issue. And, hyperemesis, it basically, it was a torturous thing to watch my wife go through. Essentially, she stayed in the darkness, all day. She lived at my in-laws. She was we went to the emergency room at least 9 times for hydration. You couldn't stay ahead of the vomiting. This isn't morning sickness. This is an all-day, 24-hour, just about the entire pregnancy sickness. Many women consider terminating the pregnancy. It's just, and the worst part of it all was that healthcare professionals, they don't have a lot of patience for these situations. And oftentimes, literally it was actually said at one point to do you even want this pregnancy? Like a lot of the healthcare professionals treated it as if it was in my wife's head, that it wasn't actually happening. It's hard for me to talk about because, as we didn't have that magical pregnancy story that a lot of people have. Basically, I lived at home like a bachelor while she stayed at my in-laws, and I would go visit her on the weekend, and she lost 13 pounds before she ever gained a pound, and I thought she was dying. So, when I saw that the HER Foundation, who's this great foundation, have been, they're celebrating 25 years of raising awareness to this issue. And, some high-profile people have Princess Kate, I guess, said she kind of had it, but it was nothing like you can go on the message boards and people have to have a PICC line put in and they're on an IV, throughout the whole pregnancy. Amy Schumer, who actually tried to get here tonight, actually had a pretty bad case of it, the comedian there. But I got somebody better anyway than any celebrity. This is the woman who's been, excuse me, fighting this battle as a sufferer herself for 25 years. She's been pushing this organization forward. Her name is, sorry, I'm just blanking out. Kimber McGibbon, and she's online, and we're going to have her tune in through. She's been a registered nurse for 30 years, began as an ICU nurse, and then moved into the medical technology field. She survived HD twice with symptoms until delivery. Her difficulty getting treatment and dealing with the residual health issues is what ignited a passion to eliminate the suffering and losses that plague families facing HG. And a lot of people that know about this condition and know how serious it is also know that it's a woman's issue, and it does affect a small percentage. So where there's no money in it for the pharmaceutical companies, and there's not a lot of attention given to this. It's one of those issues where until it affects you or someone you care about, you're probably not even going to hear about it. So that's why I wanted to take this opportunity to use my voice, so that if you know somebody that's going through this, that you do support them in the right way and not assume that it's typical morning sickness or people. Some people just can't understand, have a problem empathizing with people when they had the totally different experience, and it's just like they don't understand how this could be. But it's very real, and we're a one-child family for a reason, and HG is that reason. So with that, I would like to sponsor Ms. McGibbon to speak to us from Zoom. Kimber, are you there?
Councilor Klingon sponsors Kimber McGibbon. See no objection. We have Ms. McGibbon online. Ms. McGibbon, if you could introduce yourself just for the record, and then go right ahead. Thank you for joining us.
Great. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Kimber McGibbon. I'm the executive director and the founder of the Hyperemesis Research and Education and Research Foundation. I've been a registered nurse for over 30 years and began this foundation in 2000. And we have worked with many thousands of patients. I personally worked one-on-one with over 10,000 patients over the years all over the world. And our foundation has had the privilege of helping over 3 million women all across the globe. And these women often have very similar issues, the nausea and vomiting, of course, but the malnutrition and dehydration and the difficulty getting care. And often they will have persistent mental health issues, anxiety, depression, PTSD. Many women have suicidal ideation. Many terminate their pregnancies not because they want to, but because they don't feel like they can survive, and they feel like they're harming their babies by taking medication, which is how they will survive. So our work is to advocate for moms, whether it's to health professionals, medical societies. We also work with the state of Texas, and we just recently sponsored the bill that came into the state of Massachusetts, and we're working to try and change policies to help these women. We also do research and found the cause of this disease, which is a hormone called GDF15. Just for sake of reference, this hormone is also increased in cancer patients and results in the death of many patients because of malnutrition and cachexia, which is like lack of appetite and muscle wasting. But the levels of the same hormone, GDF15, are actually higher in women who are hospitalized for HG. So it gives you an idea that this is not morning sickness, as he said, and this is a much more severe condition. And one of the things we've learned is that women still are being told it's psychological. When I was pregnant 26 years ago, I was told I was rejecting my pregnancy, and that was why I was vomiting. But at the time, I didn't even know I was pregnant, so that was clearly not correct. And it's unfortunate, but women are still locked in psych wards to this day, involuntarily, because they're thought to be crazy or not wanting their pregnancies. So there's a lot of awareness that still needs to be done. There's very little funding, despite over 2 decades of publishing over 3 dozen studies. We still cannot get NIH funding or any large grants to do the research we need to understand how to prevent and cure this disease. So we appreciate all efforts to bring forth awareness of this condition and help us make the medical societies and others take it seriously and create guidelines and fund the research that's needed to fund. And we are appreciative that you are putting this resolution forward, and grateful for any opportunity to spread awareness to your communities, because one thing that we see is that mothers that get aggressive treatment early on, these are often women that we work with one-on-one, that use our resources and access our support services. These women often avoid the way too common preterm birth, poor fetal growth during pregnancy. The preterm birth rate is about 20% in our population, which is double the national average. And many of the babies are born very small. And moms just really struggle. And once they deliver, they're not necessarily well. It takes often about 1 to 2 months for every month they were sick to get better. So these moms that suffer for 3, 6, 9 months, they can take 6 months to a year or more to get well. So I think it's really important to bring awareness to this, because people expect these moms just to jump back on their feet, get well, and often the children will have some neurodevelopmental delays, some sensory processing issues, and learning delays, speech delays, things like that. And so they're children that are often very dysregulated and very sensory sensitive. So just be aware that this is not a condition that moms just bounce back from and have, children that fit the normal mold. It's a process, and it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of challenges along the way. So we appreciate any awareness that can be brought to this, and we're happy to support any efforts that the city or the state may want to do to bring awareness and make change for this. I would be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Ms. McGibbon. Any questions? Councilor Shezza?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. President. And I would like, through you, I'd like to thank our ward for a colleague for bringing this forward and for sharing your story as well. I did know a mother who went through this as well, and she had to make the difficult decision. It was untenable. And I think you're right. I think women are very frequently, and all who can get pregnant are very frequently gaslit to believe that it's in their head, or they're just not, they're just complaining or whatnot, when that mentality, which is all too common, is persistent. And for anyone that wishes to consider diminishing the whole concept of this, imagine having to go to work with the flu every single day in your very worst, sickest moment, and being expected to perform, go grocery shopping, pick up the children, etc., and to pretend that you're not on full-on flu symptoms.
Yes,
And
I would definitely agree.
we know that women of color are even more so gaslit, and their symptoms ignored and not considered. And this is a consistent, persistent mentality and experience that women and all who can get pregnant experience in the United States with maternal health care. So my question is, through our speaker, Mr. President, through you, is what do you think some of the barriers are to getting, not even talking about present day, but barriers to getting research funding and support from the NIH and research teams and colleges and the like?
McGibbon?
Oh, that was for me? Okay. Yeah, so some of the challenges we have is that because there is, as was mentioned, not a lot of pharmaceutical interest in HG, there's not a lot of companies that are willing to invest in this process. We do now have several genes identified, and so we know there's a company called NGM Bio that is looking at a GDF15 blocking agent, and so we are working with them, but there are very few companies. We've had several work with us on various and sundry ways to work with HG, but the lack of research interest, we are the only team in the U.S. that researches HG consistently. There are a few that do one-off studies, but there's no funding, so I can tell you, because it's fairly public knowledge, but Dr. Fazo, who's considered the leading researcher worldwide, is our research director, and we've worked together for over 2 decades on this. And UCLA did not want to fund any of her HG research, even though she found the genetic causes of HG, and so she left UCLA because they didn't want to fund and would not continue to give her any compensation. So she was already doing the HG part of her work as a volunteer anyway. Most of our research has been done using volunteer hours by our team. So it's really a lack of interest in the condition overall. The medical societies, I've sat down at the tables with the presidents, and it is not a priority to them. That's what their words were exactly to me. So I think creating an awareness of the outcomes that happen, the high levels of preterm birth, which are way more expensive to manage than the actual condition itself. And I see it all the time. If we treat a woman aggressively and give her fluids and give her a good start and IV nutrition, then she doesn't have the preterm birth, the preeclampsia, and all of the and the stillbirths and all the issues that come with poor pregnancy nutrition. So for that reason, if we can ever get enough money to prove the neurodevelopmental delays and all of that, and the repercussions, and do some economic studies to determine the costs of not treating HG, I think it would begin to persuade there to be more interest. But it is seen as a psychological condition by a lot of people, and it's very dismissed. And while the rates are considered 1 to 3%, we know that around 20 to 22% of pregnant people take Zofran for nausea and vomiting. So between that and the many years of doing this, we believe the rate is more like 5 to 10%, because a lot of studies only look at hospitalized patients, which only represents a half, 40 to 50% of the patients. So I say that to say, there's is a small segment of the population, and there is not a lot of interest at the medical society level, and there are not a lot of interest at other organizational levels like the NIH, but it does lead to sepsis, preeclampsia, preterm birth, and a lot of issues. And so if we can, in suicides, we see suicides and ruptured esophaguses from vomiting. So there's a lot of issues, and the mom's mental health issues, often persist, and those affect child development. So there's many, many issues that come from this, and if we could ever get more presentation to medical societies and others to help them understand the total economic repercussions of HG, I think it would begin to turn the tide.
Mr. President, through you to our speaker, thank you very much for that. And I also think it's very fascinating because it is the first time that I've heard the genetic causes of this. That's fascinating, something I never would have ever thought of. And yes, and I am hoping and putting out a call for nationwide feminists to take note and really have a further conversation and thought of this, and hopefully maybe even the Guttmeyer Institute would be interested in furthering the research as well, because we're all stronger together. I know that reproductive rights advocates, like myself, would definitely be interested in carrying on this cause alongside you as well. This is this is an everyday issue, and I'm so grateful to you for bringing this forward, and hopefully one day we'll meet you in person.
Great, I would love that. I'm happy to come and assist in any way that I can.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you, through you, Mr. President. Thank you, Kimber. We appreciate you coming.
Thanks. Have a good evening.
Councilor Scott, did you want to speak on the item? No? Okay. Councilor Baugh would like to sign on. I don't think I heard my name. I'd like to sign as well. Councilor Wilson, the whole council. Thank you very much, Ms. McGibbon.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Councilor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like the record to reflect that I am present for the meeting. Secondly, I would also like the record to reflect that the Somerville Elementary Spring String Fling was a smashing success. And thirdly, that at least in my experience, the Somerville Public Schools have assembled the finest elementary school string ensemble in the Commonwealth. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Scott. I can attest that there were moments during past spring flings when I never thought I'd miss it that much. And I do. Madam Clerk, would you please call the next item?
The next item that will be taken out of order is item 10.3, a request of the mayor, requesting the appropriation of $170,000 from the salary contingency account to various police department personal services accounts to fund a collective bargaining agreement with the Somerville Police Employees Association.
We have someone from the administration? Councilor McLaughlin.
Please note that I'll be recused from this item.
Let the record reflect Councilor McLaughlin is recused. Hello, Mr. Solicitor, please introduce yourself for the record and.
Good evening, Council Matt Sirigu, Labor Council. We're here tonight to present a memorandum of agreement with the Somerville Police Employees Association. This is the patrol union. We've reached a new 3-year agreement that will cover fiscal years 22, 23, and 24. So it does expire June 30th, 2024, and we will need a new contract for the last fiscal year. The high-level points from this contract include a 2% wage increase in the first year, 3% wage increase in the second year, and a 3% wage increase in the third year, along with 2% market adjustments in each of those years, which will bring the base salary from $59,210 to $67,994, in line with our broader citywide wage studies and market adjustments that we've been making. There are additional augments in there, but that's the base salary. We've also made an adjustment to the hazardous duty pay benefit, bringing that up to $3,000, in line with some of our competitors and other public safety units in the city. And then in terms of other changes to the arrangement, we have a civilian detail language that will now be in the contract, which should pave the way for a civilian detail program. And we've made some changes to the way the drug testing program is administered and the military leave benefit. So with that, I will take any questions from the council.
Okay, thank you. And councilors, this was an item that was raised to me this afternoon. I'm told that the reason that we are being asked to act on it this evening, if we feel it's appropriate to do so, is because there was a lot of math that went into it. And as it is against my core values and beliefs to make anyone do math more than they possibly ever have to, I agreed to allow it to go forward. Any discussion? Councilor Ewan-Campen?
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you, I'm reviewing this in real time. This looks to me like it would now allow civilian traffic details. Is that correct?
That is the core concept on page 2, paragraph 2, I guess you would call that. The first large paragraph there in paying police details is the existing language of the contract. The end of that large paragraph is new language, and the second shorter paragraph is new language. And so this will still involve some discussion between the chief and a committee of the patrol union as they hash out some additional details. But the idea is, yes, we now have bargained the concept of civilian details and a civilianized detail, whether it be a staff, contractor, program, system. Yes, there will still be priority for the patrol officers. There are a lot of details that go unfilled in the city, and so the idea here is the patrol officers will still have a first bite of the apple, but after that there will be an option for retirees and then civilians.
And through you, Mr. President, that's great news. I'm very happy to hear that. Is this, I've seen kind of similar agreements recently reached in Cambridge, I believe in Boston. Is this a similar arrangement where there's an agreement in principle and an agreement that a policy is going to be set up by the chief? Did we kind of invent this?
So this language is more akin to the Cambridge language than the Boston language. Council President, through you. The Boston language has a lot of detail governing how the civilian detail program is rolled out. This program This contract provision lays out some key terms that the union identified that they want to make sure the police chief talks to them about in advance, but otherwise this language, in my opinion, provides more flexibility in terms of developing a program and establishing it based on the best interests of the community and the chief's discretion, as that may be changed from time to time. There's no policy attached to the contract. There's no tight ropes around this, but it will, as with anything with unionized employees, be something that, as terms and conditions change, there will be discussions with the union.
Thank you, Mr. President. And through you, is it also the intention that there will be like senior staff from the mayor's office involved in that discussion, or is it purely between the chief and the patrol officers?
As with most policy developments, the senior staff from the mayor's office, the law department, I'm sure traffic and parking or engineering, other departments will be involved in that discussion. The chief will work on this in my early discussions with him in a very collaborative way to get the whole city involved.
One more question, Mr. President, through you. I don't see anything about body-worn cameras, so is that negotiation ongoing in a different track that's not part of this contract?
Council President, through you, yes, that is accurate. There's no changes to the current body-worn camera language in this MOU.
Let me just say I'm thrilled to see the civilian flagger language. That is something that all of us have been advocating for many years, and this is a huge step forward. Thank you.
Councilor Wilson.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. President. Like my colleague, really, really enthused to see this in there. Thank you for your work on that. I know we've talked about the importance of that, so very happy we found a way to get us there. From my conversations with our police officers, with the union president, it just seemed very clear that if we could get past the idea that they're giving up something so big. It was actually something in everyone's benefit to do this. So it's a win for sanity, and it's good for everyone. So very glad to see that in there. Thanks.
Councilor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, I'm also pleased. I just want to make it clear, though, that priority does still first go to Somerville police officers, then to retired members of the Somerville Police Department, then to sworn officers from other law enforcement agencies. So we'll probably still see a bunch of Revere and Everett cops over here doing these as well. And then finally, if no sworn officer or retiree from Somerville or sworn officer from another nearby city wants the flagging detail, then it can devolve to a civilian. So I look forward to the structure that we set up to implement this, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. See no further discussion. Is there a desire to move this forward this evening or send it to committee?
Motion to approve.
Discussion on the motion? No roll call needed. All right, that item is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Council.
Councilor Scott, would you please take over for me for a minute?
And the next item is going to be item 6D, a report of the Committee on Legislative Matters, meeting on April 29th, 2025.
All right. Thank you. Chair Davis.
Thank you, Mr. President. And just a little procedural do-si-do there. As the Vice President, as I'm presiding in the President's stead, so we don't have another Vice President here, the rules say we go to the next oldest. So despite his youthful vigor and his appearance, that to everyone's surprise happens to be Councilor Scott. So thank you for taking over and recognizing me.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Although I look to the clerk, am I the President Pro Tem? All right, we'll go with a maybe on that,
We'll
sir.
minimize the use of Latin just for everyone's sanity. Thank you, Mr. President. I will proceed forward with the report now. We did a few things in the meeting on legislative matters, so that's why I wanted to go ahead and walk you through it. The Committee on Legislative Matters did meet on Tuesday, April 29th. All members were present. We took up a number of items, the first of which is, sorry, I'm going to try not to hit buttons on your computer, Councilor Scott, and accidentally send some email or something. The first item in the minutes is the tree preservation ordinance. You'll recall that we've had a number of discussions about this, and this came out of recommendations from our Urban Forestry Committee over a year ago, and so I want to thank all the folks who put time into finally getting this before us, and then additional time and effort to address the concerns that were raised in committee. We did finally we made a few amendments and then recommended to approve the amendments as amended by committee. The principal change that was made at this last meeting was to re-add a stop work order concept. In this case, a stop work order that would be administered by the tree warden. So lest there be any confusion with a building code type stop work order. Whether, the practicality of that, I think, remains to be seen, but the interest of the committee was just to make sure that we have as many tools in the toolbox as possible to try and save as many trees as we can when it's appropriate to do so. So that one, we will, after the minutes, I will move to enroll and ordain. We also had a discussion about, we accepted the third version of the surveillance technology impact report for the huddle cameras, so our Highlander teams can knock them dead next year, having used that technology to improve their performance on the fields and in the courts. And then the last item of discussion was a home rule petition to authorize the city to employ automated enforcement of certain traffic violations. Director Rawson was before us and explained that there's a couple of different proposals at the state level, hopefully moving forward. This is sort of a belt and suspenders. We hope that we get through some avenue, some mechanism to do this. Going forward, it may be through one of those pieces of state legislation. It may be through granting the home rule petition. As one member of the committee, I'll take anything that can make our streets safer. I was very much in support of this. There was some questions raised and some concern raised about what the amount of the fees would be. Excuse me. And to ensure that we are conscious about the potential equity implications of issuing actually significantly more traffic violations to folks. And Director Rawson noted that the home rule petition, as it's drafted, gives us flexibility to not necessarily charge the full amount that a violation, if issued by an officer at the time, would be. So that's a policy discussion we can have if and when we get the go-ahead to do any of this. But that this home rule petition, as it's drafted, would retain that ability to have that conversation and consider those issues. I also raised the question of the interplay with our city's surveillance technology ordinance. There's a little bit of question there. I think, in my mind, there's an open question as to whether there's an exemption in the ordinance for this type of technology. There is some language in the HRP as it's drafted that where there's some overlap to some of the concepts in the surveillance technology ordinance. I had conversations with, and I want to thank Assistant Solicitor Peaks for following up very quickly on some of those questions, as well as Liaison Radazzi for ensuring me that if and when we get to this point, to the extent that whatever mechanism we have, it doesn't already cover the transparency concepts that our surveillance technology ordinance covers, then we can have that conversation. It may be that we revise the ordinance to make it clear. We maybe, it really is just going to depend on what the framework of our permission to do this is going to be. So my personal thought was it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to worry too much about the details in this HRP right now. I'm fine with what's here personally, and we do have the ordinance that we could overlay on this, but we just don't know at this point what it's going to be. So we did vote to recommend moving this forward in the interest of getting it up to Beacon Hill. It's certainly, if there are significant questions, we do have Mr. Peaks here to answer questions from the law department if there are any. But if there are significant concerns or questions, we could, of course, send it back to committee. But my hope is that we'll be comfortable enough getting this on the way, and we'll see what we can get out of it. So with that, Mr. President, I ask that the report be accepted as submitted.
All right, thank you for the thorough report, Councilor Davis. Chair Davis, I see Councilor Wilson would like to say something. I think after that, somebody from the administration would like to speak.
Yeah. So do you want on the report before we get to the? Yeah. Okay. I'll shut up.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. President. The issue of, we'll say, automated traffic enforcement or camera traffic enforcement, that's something I've done, as you all know, a lot of work on that with our legislative and policy analyst. I do want to make clear that we have an opinion from our law department that we can do camera traffic enforcement, not automated, but using cameras to issue tickets right now with no change on Beacon Hill, no need for a home rule petition. We can do that right now. The big difference, right, automated means it's happening, it's less of a lift for us to figure out here at the city level. The other thing, since I'm not on legislative matters, I want to make the point that, I think the concern is a good one about the impact on people and the equity piece about the cost. Since these are not moving violations, they're given to the registered owner of the vehicle. It's not a moving violation. Therefore, you will not pay these 6 years of higher premiums, which is the actual, that's when you look at the actual cost of a moving violation, that's the piece that really hits. They've estimated it can cost thousands of dollars potentially over 6 years. So you pay the higher premiums. So in that respect, it's significantly less of a burden than on someone financially than being pulled over and being issued an actual moving violation. So I think that's also an important part of the equity discussion here. Thanks.
All right, it looks we have some input from the administration as well, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. For the record, Yasmin Radasi, Legislative Liaison with IGA. Thank you, through you, to the Chair of Legislative Matters. Just wanted to put on the record from the administration, just as Chair Davis said, that the administration is committed to working collaboratively with the City Council to ensure that implementation of surveillance technology authorized by this home rule petition or related pending state legislation is done in a transparent manner, consistent with the reporting requirements of the surveillance technology ordinance. So just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councilor Wilson, you might have to wait on your other approach for a little bit longer. All right. With that, seeing no objection, the committee report is accepted as submitted. And now I believe we have some enrollment and ordainment.
Indeed, Mr. President. That puts 2 items before this council. The first of those is item 25-0566, a request of the mayor requesting ordainment of an amendment to Chapter 12, Article 6 of the Code of Ordinances to modify the tree preservation ordinance. On enrollment, Councilor Mba.
Yes.
Councilor Wilson.
Yes.
Councilor Ewan-Campen.
Yes.
Councilor Scott.
Yes.
Councilor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Councilor Burnley. Councilor Said.
Yes.
Councilor Strezzo.
Yes.
Councilor Klingon.
Yes.
Councilor Davis.
Yes.
Councilor Pineda-Neufeld. With 9 councilors in favor, none opposed, and 2 absent, that item is enrolled. And on ordainment, Councilor Mba.
Yes.
Councilor Wilson.
Yes.
Councilor Ewan-Campen.
Yes.
Councilor Scott.
Yes.
Councilor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Councilor Burnley. Councilor Said.
Yes.
Councilor Strezzo.
Yes.
Councilor Klingon.
Yes.
Councilor Davis.
Yes.
Councilor Pineda-Neufeld. With 9 councilors in favor, none opposed, and 2 absent, that item is ordained. And the next item before this council will then be item 25-0781, a home rule petition to authorize automated enforcement of certain traffic violations. On the item, Councilor Mba.
Yes.
Councilor Wilson.
Yes.
Councilor Ewan-Campen.
Yes.
Councilor Scott.
Yes.
Councilor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Councilor Burnley. Councilor Said.
Yes.
Councilor Strezzo.
Yes.
Councilor Klingon.
Yes.
Councilor Davis.
Yes.
Councilor Pineda-Neufeld. With 9 councilors in favor, none opposed, and 2 absent, that item is approved.
All right. The next item is from Councilor Burnley, and he asked that we lay that on the table until he arrives, so I'm happy to do that. So 4.1. Madam Clerk, would you read the next item?
Indeed. So returning to the regular order of business, item 4.2 is an order by Councilor Pineda-Neufeld that the Director of Public Space and Urban Forestry discuss with this council opportunities to create a dog park in West Somerville.
So I would like to sign on to this one, as would Councilor Wilson, Councilor Klingon, Councilor Strezzo, the whole council, except for Councilor McLaughlin, who's scowling over there. No, I'm kidding. The whole council, please. Given that the president is here to speak on this, should we send this to open space? Is that okay? So if we could approve that, and unless there's any discussion, seeing none, that'll be sent to open space.
Item 4.3 is a resolution by Councilor Pineda-Neufeld that the mayor create and make public specific plans that outline the full scope of the work necessary at the Cummings School, including capacity, time, and cost, to host Somerville Public School students in the event of an emergency, and provide regular updates to this council on such plans until completed.
This is an item that came from the school committee through the president, and if we could send a copy of that to school buildings, facilities, and maintenance as well, that would be approved and sent with a copy sent. Thank you.
Item 4.5 is an order by Councilor Ewan-Campen that the Director of Mobility update this council on when the Highland Avenue redesign community process will begin.
Councilor Ewan-Campen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe we're coming up on 5 years since the community was first told that we're going to have the community process around Highland Ave now. It was severed out from the rest of the Spring Hill sewer reconstruction project to be its own project, and since then it's been in total limbo. My memory is that we've been told over and over and over, spring, summer 2025. Here we are. I'm hoping to be informed that we're about to start a community process, but I have not yet been informed that or anything else, so I am looking for an update on this.
Councilor Wilson would like to sign on, Councilor Baugh, myself as well, Madam Clerk. Councilor Said. All right, thank you. So that is, do you want to send that to committee or just?
I'll take my answer in writing.
That item is approved.
Item 4.6 is an order by Councilor McLaughlin that the Director of Inspectional Services appear before this council to discuss recent changes to business permitting in relation to risk categorization and the impact they may have on businesses.
Councilor McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mr. President. We actually just had a similar conversation about this in our road and committee meeting, but in talking to some businesses in my neighborhood, there's been some changes on the state and local level, which basically, as I understand it, prioritize the amount of money you have to pay in fees, fines, penalties, applications can be impacted by certain risks, rodents being one of them that we talked about, tickets, fines, things like this. But some of the businesses think there might be some unintended consequences that might make it actually burdensome for them to conduct business. So this is more of a inquiry than an inquisition. I'm just curious how this works and see what we can do to make sure the businesses in the whole city are able to thrive. So I'd like this to go to public health and safety, as I have numerous items similar to this there.
Okay, that item's approved to the copy of Public Health, Public Safety.
Item 4.7 is an order by Councilor McLaughlin that the Director of Mobility replace the flex posts by the bus and bike lane on Washington Street near the East Somerville Green Line Station.
Councilor McLaughlin.
Motion to approve.
No discussion, that item's approved.
Item 4.8 is an order by Councilor McLaughlin that the Director of Mobility place a yield to pedestrian sign on Garfield Street at the intersection of Broadway.
Councilor McLaughlin.
Motion to approve.
Seeing no discussion, that item's approved.
Item 4.9 is an order by Councilor McLaughlin that the Director of Parking consider adding additional handicapped parking spots on Washington Street by the Cobble Hill Senior Center.
Councilor McLaughlin.
So, Mr. President, some of us had the opportunity to go to a senior picnic at Cobble Hill Plaza recently, and we are still in contention about this parking lot that is technically owned by the city of Somerville, but it's still used by residents there. There is a negotiation ongoing, which will hopefully resolve that issue, but in the meantime, some of the seniors were concerned about losing their handicap spots in particular within that lot, and brought up the idea of potentially having some of these parking spots right in front of their property on Washington Street be made into handicap parking. It makes sense to me because I don't know who else is going to park there. It's not tremendously close to businesses. It's on a main corridor. There's several spots there. I'd be interested in one or more spots be dedicated to handicap parking. So I would love this one to get sent to traffic and parking.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Chaz would like to sign on. See no discussion, that is approved with a copy to traffic and parking.
Item 4.10 is a resolution by Councilor McLaughlin that the mayor include $266,000 in the fiscal year 2026 budget to continue funding food for free services.
Councilor McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Unfortunately, this was a late one in terms of our budget priorities, but I had a meeting with representatives for Food for Free who have helped us in the past with providing food to low-income families in the community, and unfortunately, I believe this is ARPA money that does not exist anymore. So in talking to them, I told them I would try to make the pitch and see if we can get this into this year's budget. So I would just like this to be approved as well.
See no discussion, that item is approved.
Item 6A is a report of the Committee on Confirmation of Appointments and Personnel Matters, meeting on April 30th, 2025.
Councilor Ewan-Campen.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee recommended for approval 3 candidates to the Human Rights Commission: Paula Mendez, Sulin Chen, and Primrose Chireka. 2 other candidates were unable to attend, and we'll take them up at our next meeting. And we also recommended for approval Martin Pavlivich to the Urban Design Commission. And for those following along, we're going to take up the Somerville Housing Authority police officers, which is a new process for that committee. At our next meeting, we will have guidance from the law department, and we'll be able to review the candidates' records before being asked to take a vote. I ask that the committee report be accepted as submitted.
All right, seeing no discussion, that report is accepted.
Item 6B is a report of the Committee on Finance, meeting on May 6th, 2025.
Councilor Wilson.
Mr. President, the Finance Committee met on Tuesday, May 6th, with 4 of 5 members present. We took up a 16-item agenda over the course of an hour and 29-minute meeting. By 4-0 votes, we recommended that you approve tonight the following: paying over $12,000 in police prior year invoices for radio alarms, accepting nearly $100,000 in UASI grants for upgrades to the Emergency Operations Center and security cameras, a deed maintenance license and maintenance easement for 808 Windsor Street, that's that new public open space in Boynton Yards, retaining our outside legal counsel on combined sewer overflow control matters, creation of a new stabilization fund and acceptance of nearly $100,000 in a developer contribution for mobility improvements in Brick Bottom, a transfer and $100,000 Community Preservation Act appropriation for the Dilboy Auxiliary Fields project that is on schedule to open this fall, a $300,000 CPA appropriation for the Open Space Land Acquisition Fund, and last but not least, a CPA appropriation of over $1.4 million to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. We then took up Councilor Burnley's order requesting cost estimates of implementing the recommendations of the Public Safety for All Task Forces and Working Group that were released earlier this year. We got an update. The main thrust of it was basically that the administration is currently working to hire a project manager to do the implementation of those recommendations, and that person will be responsible for determining the scope of work. We heard that interviews are currently underway. If you're looking for that position in the FY25 budget book and not finding it, you won't find it there. That position was approved along with the budget as a supplemental appropriation that funds it through the end of the fiscal year. We did that back in last June. So there were then 3 staff memos answering 3 items by Councilor Ba that inquired about budget priorities for 3 different departments. With Councilor Ba traveling, unable to join us that night, we did keep those in committee just to give him a chance to ask any follow-up questions that might arise from reading those memos. And finally, then, we talked about the residents who didn't receive their initial notices of motor vehicle excise tax bills this year. We heard an explanation of the billing process that basically puts this failure either at the feet of the RMV, the Registry of Motor Vehicles at the state level, or the U.S. Postal Service. The guidance from our city treasurer and collector was that residents should proactively call her office or search the online bill payment portal if they haven't received their motor vehicle excise tax bill by the end of February. I did make a case for the state should figure out how to give some sort of email notification of these just as a backup, because it's frustratingly impossible, it turns out, to refund, to not charge a demand fee. If you, through no fault of your own, miss a bill that never arrives, you're still on the hook for that. And those demand fees can sometimes be more than the actual amount of a motor vehicle excise tax. So here's to the state hopefully finding a way to do some electronic billing for those excise tax bills. So with that, I ask this report be accepted as submitted.
All right, see no discussion. Councilor Ba.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to thank the chair, for tabling my items. I really wanted to participate in it, but Monday and Tuesday I was in Washington, D.C. advocating for, climate change initiatives with other elected officials around the country. So thank you, Chair.
All right, that report is approved.
And that places two, I believe, items before this council for a roll call vote. The first of which is item 25-0523, a request of the mayor requesting approval of a deed, maintenance license, and maintenance easement for 808 Windsor Street. On the item, Councilor Mba.
Yes.
Councilor Wilson.
Yes.
Councilor Ewan-Campen.
Yes.
Councilor Scott.
Yes.
Councilor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Councilor Burnley. Councilor Said. Councilor Strezzo. Yes. Councilor Klingon.
Yes.
Councilor Davis.
Yes.
Councilor Pineda-Neufeld. With 9 councilors in favor, none opposed, and 2 absent, that item is approved. And the next is item 25-0524. A request of the mayor requesting approval to create the Chestnut Street Multimodal Safety Stabilization Fund and accept a payment of $99,127 from the developer of 100 Chestnut Street to implement multimodal safety and access improvements. On the item, Councilor Mba.
Yes.
Councilor Wilson.
Yes.
Councilor Ewan-Campen.
Yes.
Councilor Scott.
Yes.
Councilor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Councilor Burnley. Councilor Said.
Yes.
Councilor Strezzo. Councilor Klingon.
Yes.
Councilor Davis.
Yes.
Councilor Pineda-Neufeld. With 9 councilors in favor, none opposed, and 2 absent, that item is approved. And the next item is going to be item 6C, a report of the Committee on Land Use, meeting on May 1st, 2025.
Councilor McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mr. President. We did meet at that time. 4 councilors were present. You were not because you had a prior commitment. We discussed a few good items. Well, before I go forward, I'd like to sever items. Item number 24-1584, and keep that as a separate conversation. No need? Oh, yeah, we're discharged without recommendation. This item will be discharged without recommendation. I'll discuss that in a moment. We discussed a great project on Medford and Walnut Street, which is 100% affordable housing development that was approved unanimously by the council. It's with Councilor Ewan-Campen recused. Very positive project, 100% affordable. And I think, the only one who made a comment that basically pointed out that this used to be my ward, and it has gone through various stages of proposed developments that never came to fruition, and now it's going to be 100% affordable housing development by public transit, which was great, approved unanimously. We went into great depth about the Summer Nova proposal and the 4 amendments before us. The Neighborhood Council gave us an update and said that they have a tentative agreement with Raffi Properties to have a community benefits agreement that will hopefully be ratified at the end of this month. And this was based off of amendments to the amendments that the city proposed. Once these amendments were proposed, once they were approved by the council, the Neighborhood Council felt ready to move forward themselves. So we made amendments to those amendments upon their request, and they all remained in committee. We had a substantive conversation about what this project entails, what it doesn't, what can and can't be done on it. I would recommend people to check out the minutes, but that would not be the end of this conversation. We're hopefully going to have another big conversation about it at our next full council meeting. Let's see. Those were the big, and then we also had a good conversation about upzoning with our land use analyst, Samantha Carr, gave us a quick presentation, talked about Ball Square and Broadway, upzoning in general, all positive things that we can see. And then we have this one other item that has been in committee for quite a while. This is a Horace Ward Street LLC requesting upzoning from MR4 to MR6. This has been sitting in committee for a little bit, and I just talked with the city liaison, said that we would need to vote on this by at least next week or next full council meeting. Otherwise, they will have to resubmit this application and go through another public hearing. As I recall, not many people testified at this public hearing, so I would love to get a decision made by the next full council meeting. So we wanted input from the ward councilor as well, who is present, and I submit this committee report to be approved, and then we can discuss that one item.
Discussion on the report. Councilor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. President. As it relates to the Horace and Ward petition, that is something that has been a very active and productive negotiation with the Neighborhood Council to secure a community benefits agreement on this. This is separate from the DLJ larger master plan development area community benefits agreement. They are agreed in principle and just waiting for the lawyers to review everything and to get a final approval from the Neighborhood Council Board. While they couldn't get it done by tonight, they do anticipate closing on that soon. Given that there's a time limitation on this, it sounds like what I'd requested that this particular item simply be laid on the table so that we can take it up as unfinished business at our next council meeting.
Further discussion?
If
Councilor
I
McLaughlin?
could suggest, Mr. Chair, maybe we put it back in the Land Use Committee too, just in case there's an update by next week. Does that make sense? And then we can discharge it again.
I mean, you're welcome to take it into committee, put it on your agenda, and then discharge it again. I figure we're going to have to take a vote on it at the full. So either way, sir.
Yeah. Councilor McLaughlin, your suggestion, just in case there's anything
In
that
case
needs to be discussed, it gives you
more
that
questions, yeah.
opportunity to do so. No harm,
Exactly.
no harm, no foul there, I think.
Yes, there's another one scheduled for next Thursday, I believe.
All right, well, that will be, we'll send that one back to committee. No further discussion on the report, so that is approved, and we have some votes to take.
Mr. President, I'm recused on the Medford Street one.
Thank you, Mr. President. So yes, that puts 2 items before this council, the first of which is item 24-1584, which was just discussed, will be sending back to land use, and the next is item 25-0269, a zoning map amendment to change the zoning district of 295 to 297 Medford Street and 93 Walnut Street from MR3 to MR4. All right, on enrollment, Councilor Mba.
Yes.
Councilor Wilson.
Yes.
Councilor Ewan-Campen. Councilor Scott.
Yes.
Councilor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Councilor Burnley. Councilor Said.
Yes.
Councilor Strezzo. Yes. Councilor Klingon.
Yes.
Councilor Davis.
Yes.
Councilor Pineda-Neufeld. With 8 in favor, 2 absent, and 1 recused, that item is enrolled. And on ordainment, Councilor Mba.
Yes.
Councilor Wilson.
Yes.
Councilor Ewan-Campen. Councilor Scott.
Yes.
Councilor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Councilor Burnley. Councilor Said.
Yes.
Councilor Strezzo.
Yes.
Councilor Klingon.
Yes.
Councilor Davis.
Yes.
Councilor Pineda-Neufeld. With 8 councilors in favor, none opposed, 2 absent, and 1 recused, that item is ordained.
Thank you. Next item?
The next item is item 6E, a report of the Special Committee on Rodent Issues, meeting on April 30th, 2025.
Councilor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Road and Issues Special Committee met on Wednesday, April 30th, with all 3 members present. We took up a 4-item agenda over a 47-minute meeting. Other than the approval of the minutes, the agenda was comprised of the 3 standing items that we're keeping in committee here to take up quarterly, just to get updates on efforts around communications, enforcement, and mitigation around our rodent issues. We heard the update that the traditional efforts to educate the community are continuing. Spring postcard going out to residents. I will note the welcome recent creation of a new PSA by our city TV folks, and I'll urge the city to push that out to as many through as many channels to as many residents as possible to increase our education efforts. Data on enforcement was presented, with residential trash violations outnumbering commercial trash violations. The environmental health coordinator spoke on the escalating fines that are in place for subsequent trash violations after the first one. We then talked about mitigation efforts, and that included data on visits by the city's residential rodent assistance program, with over 270 properties accounting for over 1,000 visits during the first quarter this year. We heard about integrated pest management in schools and the improved collaboration between ISD and DPW, who are now trying to work in concert and in parallel wherever appropriate. The environmental health manager talked about some of the approaches that we're using to infestations, including carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide, and their appropriateness in different situations. Manager Ziegler determined last year that we weren't using smart boxes optimally, so there's been a rethink on that after we saw the captures drop off pretty dramatically. So there's a new focus on commercial areas with those. I'll note that since additional smart boxes were just chosen by the public as one of the winning projects in participatory budgeting, let's hope we find a good use for those. Finally, as we heard about earlier tonight with Councilor McLaughlin's item, ISD has a new risk-based fee structure for licensing for businesses. Director Antanovica cited rodent activity and cleanliness as two factors in that calculation of risk level. We heard how good compliance in those areas can lead to receiving a lower or better risk base, and vice versa. So that was an interesting new approach from the current, what was termed size-based calculation for license fees. So with that, I ask this report be accepted as submitted.
Any discussion? Seeing none, that is accepted.
The next item is item 7.1, a request of the mayor requesting ordainment of an amendment to Article 8 of the zoning ordinance to update flood insurance rate map references.
That is sent to land use with a copy to the planning board. Councilor Wilson?
Mr. President, I'll move to waive the readings of agenda items 7.2 to 7.27 and ask those be sent to finance.
Councilor Scott, on one of those items?
Thank you, Mr. President. On 714, I'd just like to speak briefly to say this is a transfer from the police overtime account to match a grant application. We heard not too long ago that there was an extensive shortfall in the police overtime account, so I just hope the administration comes prepared to discuss that in finance. Thank you.
Items are sent to finance.
Item 7.28 is a request of the mayor requesting confirmation of the appointment of Eli Kim to the position of police lieutenant.
Mr. President, can this and item 729 please be referred to confirmation of appointments?
Those items are referred to confirmation of appointments.
Item 7.30 is a request of the mayor requesting confirmation of the appointment of Alba Solis to the Affordable Housing Trust.
Move for approval.
Councilor Ewan-Kippen moves for approval. Any discussion? Item is approved.
Item 7.31 is a request of the mayor requesting approval of an exemption for Tara Murphy Beardsley as required by Mass General Law, Chapter 268A, Section 20B.
Move for approval.
Councilor Ewan-Kippen moves for approval. Any discussion? Item is approved.
Item 7.32 is a request of the mayor requesting approval of an exemption for Keegan Bliss as required by Mass General Law, Chapter 268A, Section 20B.
I move for approval.
Councilor Ewan-Kippen moves for approval. Seeing no discussion, that item is approved.
Item 7.33 is a request of the mayor requesting approval of the surveillance technology impact report for poll cameras.
We'll set that to legislative matters.
Item 7.34 is a communication of the mayor proclaiming that the week of May 11th through May 18th, 2025 is Taiwanese American Heritage Week.
Discussion? Hear, hear. Let it be
Mr. President, I think they should have to really proclaim it.
I will hereby proclaim such.
Megaphone.
I think that's great. So we'll place that one on file. Thank you, Councilor Ewan-Kippen.
Item 8.1 is an officer's communication from the city clerk conveying block party licenses issued.
Okay, here we are with our new system. So we don't get to go through all of the specific block parties that were conveyed this communication, but I would encourage folks to do so. There are a bunch there. Several are in relation to Porch Fest, which of course is happening Saturday. And at the risk of speaking substantively from the chair, I'll just say I think it's great that we have a whole bunch of these going through and at folks that are closing off streets for Porch Fest where they felt it was appropriate. So take a look at those. Queue up your block parties. And I want to thank the clerk and the clerk's office and everyone who helped us streamline that process. Hopefully the public found it easier and, well, yeah, easier. Any discussion? Councilor Scott?
Thank you, Mr. President. Also, thanks to the clerk for passing along this list that I knew we were interested in. In the absence of my colleague at large, Councilor Burnley, I just want to flag that the very first of these block party permits issued appears to be the Calvin Street block party, a perennial favorite and one of the younger block parties in Ward 2, but definitely a banger, as the kids say. So thank you, Madam Clerk, and I look forward to seeing all my neighbors soon.
Item? Yes, thank you. That would be placed on file.
Item 8.2 is an officer's communication from the planning board conveying recommendations for items 25-0200, 25-0457, and 25-0590.
Seeing no discussion, though, that item will be placed on file with a copy to the planning board?
Sorry, copy to land use.
A copy to land use. Thought that looked wrong. All right, place on file with a copy to land use.
Item 9.1
So these are the licenses where normally we would have the chair of license committee run us through this. A moment ago, I asked the clerk who was the vice chair of the license committee. Turns out it's me. The other member of the license committee is President Pineda Neufeld. So I hereby appoint temporarily Councillor Wilson as a temporary member of the license committee. Councillor Wilson, do you have any action you'd wish to recommend on these licenses?
Mr. President, I hope I get this right. I'm trying to remember how our colleague at large has
Perhaps
typically dealt
items
with these.
9.1 through 9.11 to approve, or if anyone has any that they would like to see go to a committee, those could be called out.
Mr. President, as long as that's correct, I know there's a logic to which ones are approved and which ones, I can't remember flammables. Flammables, they're all renewals. All renewals? All right, then. Yeah, we'll move to waive the readings of those and approve them.
Maybe also 10.4 to 10.12?
Let's do that as well, 10.4 to 10.12.
Councillor Wilson also moves to approve 10.4 to 10.12. Any discussion on any of those? Hopefully I didn't just wildly overstep my authority as the President Pro Tem and appointed a member of the committee so that I don't have to go down and sit down and seat to do the same thing. Very good. I'm playing a little fast and loose with the rules, but I think we folks will be happy to have the licenses approved.
Mr. President, I think the bar for executive overreach has been set very high lately, so I think you're okay.
Yeah, I'm not quite there. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. I hereby rescind your appointment. Madam Clerk, the next item.
Next item is item 9.12, a public communication from Tori Antonino submitting comments regarding 375 Harold Cohen Way.
Any discussion? That item is placed on file.
Item 9.13 is a public communication from 16 residents submitting comments regarding item 25-0200, a zoning text amendment.
That is placed on file with a copy to land use.
I did it again.
Yeah.
I see it there.
Okay.
Item 9.14 is a public communication from 625 individuals submitting comments regarding Israel.
That item is placed on file.
Item 10.1 is an order by Councilor Pineda Neufeld that the city hereby adopts Chapter 329 of the Acts of 1987, an act increasing local control over the annual school budget.
Councillor Scott, would you take the podium here for me?
Absolutely. Councilor Davis.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this is an item that there's been apparently a whole bunch of conversation about, and I will confess I wasn't part of the discussion, so I've tried to do my homework real quick today and catch up on exactly what we have going on here. This is a provision under state law that has apparently been there for a while that would allow a city council to, where the heck did this go? There it is. That would allow a city council a city, with the city council and the mayor to sort of adopt the provisions of the law that would enable a council to consider a budget that is recommended by the school committee that differs from the budget provided from the mayor. There are, as I understand it, some parameters around when and how that could happen, but that's the crux of it. So this is a request that came through President Pineda Neufeld. I'm in her role as our representative of the school committee, and I wanted to just provide that summary. I know Councillor Wilson did a little bit of homework on this as well, so through you, Mr. President, if the good Councillor Large has anything he'd like to add, then I certainly would value his input. But this could, we could decide to approve this evening. We could send it to a committee. I did have a discussion with the good chair of finance as to whether that might be appropriate. That seems like perhaps a good place for it for me. But that's what we're talking about here. I'll step back and hear my colleagues.
All right, thank you for introducing the item. Councilor Davis. Yes, Councilor Wilson on the item.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I'll credit our city clerk with doing even more digging on this than I did. It sounds like as well as a member of the law department. And the answer, did come back that we don't, or that we do need to still adopt this, even though there is some Mass General law about this as well. So credit where credit is due.
Thank you, Councilor Wilson, although I admit I am curious now to hear a little bit more detail on that, because I do believe there is already Mass General law effectuating this. Why would our acceptance of this provision make a difference?
Mr. President, I deferred to, I had a discussion with the clerk earlier. We didn't go into detail on why. I trust our clerk implicitly, so I backed down from my stance that I thought we were good to go.
All right, well, I see Solicitor Amara is present with us virtually. Solicitor Amara, maybe you could give us a little bit more detail. Thank you.
Through you, the chair, yes, certainly. There is an unfortunate discrepancy between the special legislation that was adopted by the state, which requires that there be a local acceptance requiring approval by the council and by the mayor. And unfortunately, for some unknown reason, when it got codified into the statutes, that was not included, which is an error. We have reached out to both DOR and to other aspects of the state, and there are several other communities who are facing this issue and are doing exactly what we are doing now, and we have been told in no uncertain terms it's the special legislation that governs, and the special legislation requires approval by both the council and the mayor.
All right, I very much appreciate that. And just to clarify for anybody at home that had a hard time tracking that, this is basically allows for if a mayor proposes a budget that the school committee doesn't feel addresses the school's needs, that the school committee can recommend their own budget, which the city council could then by a supermajority vote override for, substantively override the mayor's budget, at least for the purposes of the amount allocated to the school department. All right, Councilor Wilson.
Mr. President, can I add on just a little bit to what you said, just piggyback on that? It does have to be for a very specific purpose, right? We can't just say, increase the school budget by, X amount. It has to be for specific purposes laid out by the school committee in the recommendation. Just wanted to tack that on.
All right, Councilor McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to our solicitor. So if we approved this, just in theory, if the mayor rejected it, would it still require her to approve it, or would it need a 2/3 majority to override a veto?
This is a very complicated question. It would, yes, require the mayor to still approve it. If she were to deny it and you were to override by 2/3, that would effectively make your vote to approve stand. But to pass the legislation, you then still need mayoral approval. I know that's complicated, but that's the reality.
Could I ask, through you to the liaison, if the mayor has issued an opinion on this and intends to sign it?
Sure. Liaison, is the mayor prepared to sign this or sit on it?
Through you, Mr. President, we are still considering. Happy to discuss more through the law department and finance committee if it does end up getting sent to committee.
So to me, this sounds good, and it also sounds big. So I would prefer to send it to committee unless people are really interested in voting on it now.
That's a great question. I also tend to like to do my homework on this. I got to do a little bit of homework this week. I think what we just heard is that the mayor hasn't committed to sign this, and it would need to be accepted in a sufficient time in order for this to actually be employable in our budget season, which starts in just a couple weeks. So I'll look, since we don't have the proposer with us here tonight, I'll look to Councilor Davis or Councilor Wilson for any input about the time sensitivity here.
Mr. President, I think I agree. This sounds like it's probably appropriate for committee. Hopefully we can have that discussion, come to an agreement, and move forward together with the administration on this. That'd be my hope that the committee process would lead us to.
All right, Chair of Finance, then, would we be able to take this up in our next meeting and then refer it back to the council?
Yeah, Mr. President, we'll make sure this is on our next agenda.
All right. Well, we have seen multiple home rule petitions sent to the mayor's office that did not get signatures for extended periods of time. Hopefully this won't be one of them. All right. It sounds like that one's getting referred to finance.
The next item then is item 10.2, a resolution by Councilor Davis that the administration work with Somerville Public Schools and the Commissioner of Public Works to effectively budget for and fund current equipment maintenance costs, including but not limited to air compressors and ovens at the high school career and technical education program, and develop plans to include CTE equipment maintenance needs in future budgeting and funding cycles.
So I would just note that this came from the school committee. I submitted it in President Pineda Neufeld-Stud, and I'd ask that it be sent to School Building Facilities and Maintenance.
The next item then is item 10.13, a public communication from MassDOT conveying the alteration of location of a section of state highway.
Discussion? That item's placed on file.
Item 10.14 is a public communication from Allison Ellis submitting comments regarding the mayoral term.
That item is placed on file.
Item 10.15 is a public communication from Stephen Kubel submitting comments regarding Israel.
That item is placed on file.
And that brings us to the end of the agenda, Mr. President, and we do have item 4.1 still on the table, so if we'd like to pick that back up.
Councilor Wilson?
I was actually going to move for reconsideration, Mr. President. Can I move for reconsideration of item 10.3 in hopes that that fails?
Councilor Wilson moves for consideration item 10.3 in hopes that reconsideration fails. Any discussion? Councilor McLaughlin?
Mind us which one this is?
Yes. Clerk, please.
Item 10.3 was the request of the mayor requesting appropriation of $170,000 from a salary contingency account to various police department personal services accounts to fund a collective bargaining agreement with the Somerville Police Employees Association, and Councilor McLaughlin has recused himself. On reconsideration, Councilor Mba. Would you like to?
No.
Councilor Wilson?
No.
Councilor Ewan-Campen?
No.
Councilor Scott?
Nope.
Councilor McLaughlin? Councilor Burnley? Councilor Said?
No.
Councilor Strezzo?
No.
Councilor Klingon?
No.
Councilor Davis?
No.
Councilor Pineda Neufeld? With no councilors in favor, 8 opposed, 2 absent, and 1 recused, reconsideration has failed, and that item stands approved.
All right, very well. Since the item that is on the table was introduced by Councilor Burnley and he had asked me to put it there, I propose that we leave it there. And we'll pick it up at the next meeting. Are there any late items, Madam Clerk?
There are no further items before this council, Mr. President.
All right. With that, Councilor McLaughlin moves for adjournment. Please call the roll. Oh, we don't have to call the roll anymore. That's right. We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.